Detroit, and I'm also assisted by Ms. Andiswa Zebeshe. To take the calls, I will be assisted by Ms. Lerato Mswane, and for the WhatsApp questions, I will be assisted by Mr. Takalani Mukwebo. Today's panel is led by the Minister of Social Development, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, together with the CEO of Sassa, Ms. Totsi Memela, and the CEO of the National Development Agency, Ms. Tamo Mzobe. Minister will be leading with the presentation, and thereafter we will be taking questions. Minister, it's over to you, and I have to say, Malibongwe.
Launcher le laptop. I don't know. No. Thank you. Le laptop. Huh? Whose laptop is this? Are you going to use it for the launch? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And sibingelela nabantu abasemakhaya, ikakhulukazi sibingelela ama Sassa recipients. You know, I see them these days balokhu baya dance bathi qing qing. Ngifuna ukuthi laba abadansayo bathi qing qing. They must understand ukuthi the money that is in here ayona imali yokudlala. Imali esetshenzelwa kakhulu. Imali okufuneka ukuthi yondle abantwana, imali okufuneka ukuthi ikwazi ukukhulisa abantu nanokuthi abantu bakwazi ukuziphilisa. So I'm saying I see that there's lots of social media playing around with the cards and dancing king king. The bottom line is that this card, it holds a financial resource for people to use that money sparingly, number one, for them to use this money for right reasons, for them to use this money that's in the card for the well-being of their families, for the well-being of themselves. But I also do want to say the money that is here is money that has to be taken care of, because this is money of people who pay their taxes to make sure that our social safety net is protected. So laba badensayo bathi qing qing ngizonilandela just to see ukuthi le mali ni spenda kuphi. Thank you very much. Dumelang sanibonani molweni, absheni, and a very good morning to all. I wish to thank you for joining us this morning for this briefing from the comfort of your home and workplaces. But I also wish to thank those at home who are really waiting to hear what is it that we have to offer today. As it has been indicated, I'm accompanied by the two CEOs of Sassa and NDA, and I continue to say the three of us have to work with each other, because as a minister, I need to guide at a political level. They have to guide. Sassa CEO has to make sure that everything goes well and money is paid on time to everybody. But also, most importantly, the National Development Agency is an agency that is supposed to help people stand on their own 2 feet. The purpose of today's briefing is to provide you with updated social development response measures against the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. This update is in the context of level 4 of the lockdown. And ngiyafuna ukusho ukuthi level 4 we lockdown uyazama ukuthi usinikeze ithutshana lokuthi sikwazi ukwenza izinto. But at the same time level 4 uzosibonisa whether sizokwazi ukumuvela to level 3 no level 2 na. And all that depends on us as government, but it also depends on citizens taking responsibility of making sure that they practice the protocols of COVID-19. Let me thank all the women and men on our front line of the fight against this disease. Mangibonge futhi wonke umuntu osebenza ngezidingo zethu. Akufanele sikhohle ukuthi sadalwa ukuthi sikwazi ukuzimela. We truly appreciate your dedication and commitment in carrying out these essential services. But these essential services will almost be meaningless if citizens themselves also do not take responsibility and make sure that they keep the distance, make sure that they wear the mask, make sure that they do the right thing for themselves, individually, collectively as family, but also as communities. Ke rata go leboga motho e mong le o mong e mong ya latelang melao ya tshwantsho ya lefu lena. Batho bohle ba hlokomela gore lefu lena le gotse naholo. Therefore, we must remain united in our determination to beat and overcome this virus. Overcoming it, we will collectively, as government, as civil society, as NGOs, as NPOs, but as families individually, from house to house, street to street, and community by community. We continue to reiterate the importance of each and every one of us to wash hands regularly, stay at home, go out when only it is absolutely necessary and essential, and observe the appropriate guidance of physical distancing. Last week, I convened one of the regular extended special MINMAX meeting with all the provincial MECs of social development to coordinate and ramp up our interventions to ensure all vulnerable groups in our community are appropriately supported to access basic necessities to cope with the new normal. I must really appreciate MECs for their continued support throughout this time. We are seeing a much stronger coordination with the provinces. We have agreed that we will upscale our communication through various platforms to ensure that the public is well aware of all the services provided by the Department of Social Development as a portfolio, and the portfolio means Sassa and NDA. I'm truly honored to work with the caliber of MECs whose support is constant and unconditional, and I thank each and every one of them and their teams at provincial level. I also thank the MECs for participating fully in the provincial structures, but also thank the regional managers, both of Sassa and NDA, for being part and parcel of those teams, because it's very clear that if we don't have a coordinated effort in our work, we will never be able to defeat this virus. With regards to regulations on the extension of lapsed disability grants, I want to indicate we are taking proactive measures to protect the livelihoods of the most vulnerable in our society during this period. To this end, we have published the regulations which give effect to the extension of temporary disability grants from the date they were suspended until the end of October this year. I'm aware, and I gave the letter to the CEO, somebody came right to my gate to say, we have a problem with people with disability, we can't apply, we can't go to Sassa offices, what are we going to do, Minister? And I handed over that letter to the CEO, and I'm sure that the CEO and her team have taken that, and this is part of the reasons also we decided, let us do this. This extension applies to all temporary disability grants that lapsed between February and March. Izicelo zama grant wabantu abakhubazekile zivumelekile ukuthi siqhubeke nazo until uOctober. Abaziyo ukuthi bebenalo leli thuba lokuthola ama grant wabo, ngicela ukusho kubo ukuthi ama grant wabo azoqhubeka until the end of October, and ngethemba ukuthi by that time futhi nathi siusasa sobe sesizamile ukuvula amanye ama office, njengoba ama directives sesiwatholile nje ukuthi kancane kancane kufuneka siphindele emsebenzini. In cases where the temporary disability grants were suspended, they will be reinstated and paid until the end of October. The same applies to the care dependency and foster child care that are due to lapse during the lockdown period. The payment of these reinstated grants will take place before the end of May. We hope this extension will give persons with disability some peace of mind in the midst of this deadly virus. With regard to the amendment of regulations relating to the movement of children, this is one of the biggest challenges we had, where in our original plans, we only looked at people who had documents that were signed off by courts and all that, but we realized that ngesintu, abantu noma behlukene ngesintu, sometimes abayi e-court ukuthi abantwana bakwazi ukuvakashela ogogo nomkhulu, kuba nesivumelwano nje phakathi kwama-family. And therefore sibona lokho, we decided ukuthi asenze kube lula for bona ukuthi abantwana bakwazi ukuphindela kuma-parents wabo, so that ama-parents akwazi futhi ukusebenza nabo ukubanceda ngesikole, ngoba abaningi manje they are doing their work electronically and otherwise. So sifuna ukuthi sisenzele lokho ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi abantwana baphindele emakhaya. And ngiyacabanga ukuthi nogogo nabo bese bekhathele, yazi abantwana bahlupha kanjani mabelokhu begijigijima into engapheli, mase ukhulile nje impela kuba nzima ukubabheka. So silungisile ke leyo nto ukuthi the children must be able to go back to their parents. We have amended the regulations with regard to the movement of children between co-holders of parental responsibilities or caregivers as guided in Section 1(1) of the Children's Act, Act number 38 of 2005. Under the new regulations, the movement of children between co-holders of the parental responsibilities who reside in different metropolitan areas, district municipalities or provinces is allowed, provided the co-holder of the parent responsible or caregiver has the following: a court order or a parental responsibility and the rights agreement of parenting plan registered with the family advocate, a permit issued by a magistrate which corresponds with the Form 3 of the regulations if the documentation in paragraph A and B is not available. We developed this form on the basis that we realized that some of them would not be able to move if they don't have the top documents. I must hasten to add that before a magistrate issues a permit I referred to above, he or she must be provided with a birth certificate or certified copy of a birth certificate of the child or children to prove a legitimate relationship between the co-holders of the parental responsibilities and rights, and written reasons why the movement of the child is necessary. Here I do want to indicate that many parents were frustrated and saying, why are we being bureaucratic about this process? We all know that families sometimes have really serious problems, and therefore the movement of children, others come and take the children, and it causes a distress, number one. Number two, we also had to be responsible to make sure that child trafficking and all that doesn't happen, because we must be conscious of the fact that yes, we are suffering now under COVID-19, but some of the social ills that are a problem in our society, they continue, and therefore it's important for us at all times as government to assist citizens also to be responsible in this process. We have specifically made these amendments to allow any child who was not at a residence of the primary caregiver prior to the announcement of the lockdown to return to the primary caregiver. However, I must point out that this will be done in a once-off basis, which has already happened. We appeal to all parents, caregivers who share joint custody to be reasonable, to act in good faith, and to prioritize the health and safety of their children when making decisions about whether children should be moved in the first place. We have a zero tolerance for any parent or caregiver who recklessly exposes a child to any COVID-19 risk. And I want to indicate here that I'm confident that no parent wants to be infected, him or herself, and no parent wants to see that happening to any of the children. And I'm sure that parents will take all the precautionary measures. Amendment of directions of social development facilities and services. This has been a long time coming because many people have been complaining that they have no access to Sassa offices, but we also want to still indicate to our communities and to our people who depend on our services the importance of the health of the Sassa workers and any other worker in government is also very important. I've always been saying to everyone working around me, protect yourself first before you can go protect others, because you will not be able to help others if you are not helping yourself. Ensuring that vulnerable groups remain protected from this pandemic remains our priority. To this end, we have amended a number of regulations relating to the substance abuse treatment centers and halfway houses, child and youth care centers, shelters for victims of crime and gender-based violence, as well as residential facilities for persons with disability. With regards to substance abuse treatment centers and halfway houses, the amended directions make provision for the release of service users from these facilities upon social workers' recommendations. The same applies to the release of victims of gender-based violence and that of children in child and youth care facilities. The amendments also make provisions for the prioritization of all matters relating to children in conflict with the law. With regards to early childhood development ECD centers, the sectors remain close in the alert level of risk 4 adjusted approach. We will continue to monitor the implementation of alert level 4 risk adjusted approach to review this decision in consultation with relevant structures to ensure that whatever decision is made for this sector to open, it is COVID-19 ready in order to protect children and the staff working in these facilities. I must indicate that these facilities, some of them fall under a National Development Agency and are supported by the National Development Agency, but also we have to work very closely with the Minister of Basic Education. We follow carefully what the Minister of Basic Education is saying, also considering the fact that the issue of hunger is a big problem out there. Most of these children that used to go to the ECD centers, they used to have the 2 meals within the 3 meals. Yeah, they would have the 3 meals. And therefore we understand the pressure on parents when these children are no longer getting this food, especially those that are in the most underprivileged areas. However, I have included in the directives to allow provinces to continue paying subsidies in order to fulfill their administrative responsibilities and payment of stipends. Older persons facilities remain closed during the alert force due to their vulnerability to COVID-19. However, we encourage all facilities to ensure that implementation of COVID-19 protocols and work with district health teams for continuous screening and testing. With regards to inter-country adoption, these services are suspended during the state of national disaster. With regard to recruitment of social workers and professionals, as COVID-19 continues to impact on individuals and families across South Africa, social service professionals are on the front line of our national pandemic response. In this regard, we are recruiting an additional 1,809 social workers to reinforce the current workforce and to provide a range of social work services, including timely psychosocial interventions to support affected individuals and family. This point for us is very important. I think everyone is aware of the fact that we have an estimated figure of how many social workers are needed and necessary for our country, because we believe that if we had as many as social workers as possible, street to street, so that they can be able to understand and appreciate what is happening within the communities, we need thousands of social workers, and we're working towards ensuring that those social workers are employed. And I'm very much aware of the fact that many social workers have been contacting me directly and saying they are unemployed, they are sitting at home, and yet the need for social workers, especially at this time of COVID and post-COVID. So we are looking at what is it that we can do, working with other departments, but also ensuring that maybe Treasury can step up and assist us in this one, because we do need to have as many social workers as possible. The allocation of additional social workers per province is as follows: Eastern Cape 171, Free State 92, Gauteng 676, KwaZulu-Natal 266, Limpopo 116, Mpumalanga 128, Northern Cape 833, Northwest 81, Western Cape 246. The social workers will be employed for a period of 3 months. 3 months for now. Priority will be given to social work graduates who have registered on the department's database of unemployed qualified social work graduates that we developed in 2019. A further 1,210 unemployed social work graduates will be given a one-year internship opportunity in a joint venture between WH-SETA, the South African Council for Social Service Practitioners, the DSD and VETS Consortium. The SAC SSP will ensure that all graduates signed up for the two projects are verified and licensed to practice. They will also be exposed to training before their placement. The provisions of psychosocial support services are an integral part of disaster response, as it helps individuals and communities to build back their lives. And we think that COVID-19 has also come with huge challenges, especially if you think of the fact that the children are not able to go to school, the parents are also at home, and the parents need to help the children, but also we have that unending scourge which has to end in South Africa, that is of violence against women and children. And at this point in time, I've indicated before that I can imagine people can't go out and be able to hustle for themselves and make the money to make sure that they take care of their family. So the stress and strain is there. With regards to the National Development Agency, the National Development Agency has recruited and placed 580 volunteers with CSOs in all 52 districts to support the distribution of food to vulnerable families. In addition, 620 volunteers will be added to increase the number of volunteers by NDA to bring the total to 1,200 volunteers. These volunteers assist the DSD portfolio, in addition to food distribution, on educating families on COVID-19 preventions, verification of applicants for the special COVID-19 social relief of distress grant, fast-track the purpose of payment of this grant. To date, these volunteers have distributed over 100,000 local language brochures on health and education, and I think that the CEO will further explain to that, especially if there are questions. With regard to food and nutrition program, the department has been providing food and nutrition services to combat the growing challenge of malnutrition and hunger amongst poor and vulnerable communities. The department developed a system of food distribution that has been working since 2013 to 13-14 to provide food. This intervention is informed by Section 27(1) BC of the Constitution, which states that everyone has the right to have access to sufficient food and water. I think at this point, it's important for us to note that President Cyril Ramaphosa, before even COVID-19 happened, was engaging with us as government in general to say, as a nation and as a country, we must not have any citizens going hungry in our country. And it is for that reason that we also, as Sassa and NDA, we are saying, while we are paying social grants and their grant recipients, it's important for them to also look around them and say, what is it that they can do to improve their well-being, because it's possible, and it's possible for them to have the gardens, it's possible for them to do a whole lot of things. And now that also we are under lockdown, this is the opportunity when ordinary citizens should be looking at opportunities around them with our help, of course, because this is what we say, this is what I say in particular. We empower our communities in order for them to power themselves. communities and families have got means of working one way or the other and ensuring that they support each other. But of course, government has to take responsibility where it has to take responsibility to support our people. We have noted the challenges with long queues for food which is distributed by NGOs. These challenges were experienced when the private sector and NPOs in the main distribute food parcel in an uncoordinated manner, wherein the local municipality, provinces and law enforcement agencies are sometimes not informed and not part of this distribution. And we've seen a number of instances where people go to the communities, they don't talk to the leaders of the community, they bring the food. When people are hungry, you will know that they will run out just to catch something. I think we must give dignity to our people. So if you are distributing food, it has to occur to you that those people also need to be treated with dignity. There is no dignity when you come with a van and you make everybody run around and strip away their dignity. I'm making an appeal to all those that are distributing food, while of course appreciating the fact that South Africans in their hundreds stood up to say, what is it that we can do? And we saw a whole lot of food coming out from many areas. Our concern is an uncoordinated distribution of the food. But more than anything else, it's also about ending up with the food being in some places and the far-flung areas not getting the food. This uncoordinated food distribution creates duplication, partisan and corruption challenges, whilst proper coordination structures and mechanisms at national, provincial and local structures exist, and we acknowledge it might not necessarily be enough. I'd also like to request all those who have received the food parcels to please be considerate and not take more than your share. We are struggling. People are struggling. There is nothing as painful as people who become selfish and self-centered and take food parcels. Some of them end up even selling the food. This is not the time for that. This is the time for us to help each other. I would like also to please understand that our resources are limited. So when you take 2 instead of 1 of food parcels, you are taking away from another vulnerable family. To all those NPOs who are fighting shoulder to shoulder with us to ensure that our people are able to access food, I wish to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude. We are going to develop directives that address this challenge. These directives will encourage NPOs to coordinate with municipalities, provinces, and law enforcement agencies to ensure that they distribute food and are better coordinated. Here's the issue. It's one thing for us to keep on writing directives and writing regulations and all that. We're going to end up tangling ourselves with all these. The plea is that people on the ground, the plea is that communities must be able to appreciate what is happening, but the NPOs and NGOs and all others must also be able to appreciate what we are asking them to do. And it will be important to follow the directives that we are going to do. In addition, as of 30th April, Sassa has received over 80,000 applications for the social relief of distress. And of these, 57,763 applications were eligible. At this point in time, so that I don't cause technical glitches in my explanation, I would like to ask the Sassa CEO to be the one that runs through, especially in areas that are related to how you're going to apply, what are the qualifications, when are we going to launch all that. I will give, maybe before I give to you, can I ask the CEO of NDA to just quickly deal with the NDA issues? And then we'll go back to Sassa, because then we have to finalize with the activities.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, South Africa. We at NDA, like the Minister has highlighted, we are part of the portfolio approach, where Sassa, Social Development and National Development Agency are on the ground or on the forefront of making sure that our communities are empowered and are sustainable. by service delivery, by the services that we offer and the interventions that we render. Mainly what national development does, we are the custodian of the database of civil society in South Africa. Whether we're talking of non-profit organization, whether we're talking of a faith-based organization, whether if you're talking of an NGO, which I want to clarify the difference between NPO and NGO. I know there's been a crisis where people have been going around asking people to change from being NPO to be NGOs. So it's one thing. It's regulated by NPO Act. So whether we are faith-based, NPO and NGO, you are regulated by one act, one legislation, Non-Profit Organizations Act. So I think bazosizakala kakhulu emakhaya ngoba kukhona abantu ababacharge 3,000 rands, change your NPO to be an NGO so that you'll get more food parcels. And we are trying in building the dignity of our communities through our volunteers to give the culture of saying it's not merely just food parcels, it's groceries. When you go to shops to buy your own food, you go buy groceries. So these are groceries because there's this element of stigma now to say, oh, you're a beneficiary of food parcel. So through our volunteers, our education, our awareness campaigns, we're trying to build in this dignity of our communities, respecting the food they receive, to receive it as groceries, mainly, not just as I don't know if it's a case, if we say it's a food parcel. So people, we are restoring their dignity through our interventions. Through our volunteer programs, we have come handy in ensuring that the awareness brochures that Department of Health is distributing are translated by the very civil society organization. They have the means, they have the systems, they translate them to local languages, whether it's a Sotho, whether it's Venda, whether it's Xhosa. So we're no longer now waiting for all these services where there are closed companies, we can't go and procure the services for them to translate. They're able to go through the step-by-step that are issued by government and translate those in their mother tongue, where people are easy to relate with what the government is communicating to communities. And also, these volunteers, we don't just pick them up from the streets. We work with the civil society so that we can monitor and we can evaluate the impact that they have in communities. And the stipend that we give to them, we have to account because this is a public money that we are giving out. So your immediate civil society organization or your NPO in your local municipality, you go, you make relationship, you become friends with those civil society, NPOs, faith-based organization. They will take you on, they will empower you, they will train you, together with Department of Health, how to talk about these regulations, how to talk about these directives, for you to be able, ekhaya, ukulandela ukuthi uhulumeni uthini, ukwenze ekhaya, ukwenze ekuhlaleni. So, sizoqhubeka sisebenzisane no Sassa, njengoba kuzokwenziwa lama grant 350 relief awuzochazwa namhlanje. Ukuthi sesibonile ukuthi kukhona imphakathi kakhulukazi abantu abadala nabogogo abanganawo lama gadgets namafoni abakwazi ukuthola ama WhatsApp kubo. So ama volunteer ngesikhathi ethatha ukudla ekuyisa kubo emakhaya ayakwazi ukubachazela, ayakwazi ukubagcwalisisa ama forms. Sebeqalile already ukubenzisa. So as we are scaling up on our volunteers, we want to make sure that on the ground, especially in deep rural areas where people don't have access to information, these volunteers have become handy to ensure that everything that comes out from these platforms gets to each and every household. And while we are doing that, we are collecting a data of the impact of this COVID in the household, because it's one thing to assume that it's just grant, it's one thing to assume that it's just 1, 2, and 3. Other issues that are coming out from families, we're collecting that data. We've partnered with Department of Health, we've partnered with other NGOs that have systems and gadgets to capture information. So basically, we get that information, we come back as we sit its portfolio, then we give that information. That's basically what national development does. Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu babukele emakhaya nabo bonke abaphatheke kabi kulamalanga andlulile ngokuthi besingakabi ready ukuqala le process yale grant abayibiza i special COVID-19 grant ye 350. ngiyazi ukuthi intatheli eziningi sezishayile zicela ukwazi ukuthi ingabe kwenziwa njani, kodwa ngoba besingakabi ready besingakwazi ukuthi singachaza sithini. Siyabonga ukuthi abasebenzi basebenzile balungisa ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi namhlanje masiqeda no minister uku-announce ukuthi ngubani ozoqualifya, abantu bazokwazi ukuthi baqale ba-apply. Okunye ekufanele esicela ukuchaza ukuthi i-team ikhona, i-technical team lana ezokwazi ukuthi ibonise ababukele ekhaya ukuthi i-system izosebenza njani. Siye sayenza i-pilot emavikini andlulile ngoba khona aba-applyayo, and esicela ukuchaza ukuthi labo abathola i-grant siyacela Nkosi yami ukuthi ninga-apply ngoba nina aniqualify. Mangabe sokhona i-grant oyitholayo angeke uqualify ngoba kule pilot esiqalile emavikini amabili andlulile siye sathola ukuthi kwi-50% yabantu aba-applyile ilanga lokuqala kuye kwa-applya 100,000 people, and kuleyo 100,000 people applyile 50% of those people were actually people that are already receiving grants. Siyacela ke Nkosi yami nalabo aba-applye ngama-email sithole ukuthi even though ku-apply 250,000, 50% of them are people that are already receiving grants. So sicela ukuchaza ukuthi mangabe ureceive i-grant currently noma ngabe ureceive i-child support grant ungumzali, ngoba kusho ukuthi ngenyanga yokuqala lena esiphuma kuyo uye wathola i-300 per child. Kule nyanga elandelayo umzali uzothola esibiza caregiver. I-caregiver izothola u-500. Asikwazi ke ukuthi sithi sipheze kokuba sikunikele le mali yengane bese sikunikeza nemali yakho as a caregiver ngoba nawo abantwana babhekwa nguwe bese futhi uapplyela no 350 ngoba kufanele ukuthi si stretch le rand elikhona esilinikeza uhulumeni ukuthi senzele ukuthi laba abangatholi lutho kube yibo futhi abakwazi abakutholayo. So siyacela Nkosi yami. Nerekupa nerekopela gore bao ba receivang di grants re a kopa tle gore ha re qala hape re bula megala ya o apply for the COVID special grant gore ba fumanang di grant ka sheko, whether ke koko o fumana grant ya hae le grant ya bana kapa ke mme a fumanang grant ya ngwana le special grant a tlo ifumana di kgwedi tse tlang. Ra kopa tle gore le ska apply ka gore e be re tloka system re tse gore batho ba bang ba sa fumane lotho le bona ba qetele ba sa khone o kena. So re a kopa tle ka gore re fumane gore re itse ha re pilota la dibeke tse fitileng ra fumana gore batho ba bangata ba 50% ya batho ne ba applyile ke batho already ba fumanang di grant. In case ne re sa tlhalosa hantle ra kopa tle gore le tsebe gore batho bao ba ka se qualify ba fumanang di grant already ka gore re batla gore re spread tšhelete nyane hulmente ana le yona gore re tlo etsa sure gore le batho ba bang ba tshwere ke tlala ba sa fumane lotho ba tlo khona go fumana. Re a kopa ka tlhompho tle. In line with the regulations and in preparation for the rollout of the special COVID social relief of distress grant, and with the provision of social services, the Minister has gazetted new directives that will allow 30% of social security agencies, that is the Sassa workforce, to return to work on a rotational basis to continue to render social services to our people. We know that the fact that our offices were closed has impacted on a number of our people not being able to receive a service. It's important to note, though, that our people too need to be taken care of, and we needed to make sure that in the first week we clean the offices and make them ready for them to be occupied by our teams. So we really would like to apologize for the inconvenience to those that needed our services, but also plead for patience because much as the services will exist from this week, it's important to note that we can't roll out every service because only 30% of our employees will be back at the offices. So limited services will be provided particularly in our local offices. Our district and regional offices didn't close even during this period because we need those are people that are providing essential service. So we will progressively open from today. In order to protect the most vulnerable members of society, Mondays and Tuesdays will be used to receive applications from older persons. We know that there's people that have just turned 60 that could not be able to come in and get support from our offices, so those people will be enabled for the first 2 days. Priority will then be given to those citizens that have just that turned 60 just prior. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, we'll be receiving applications for child support grant and foster care grants. Again, priority will be given to caregivers with babies, instances where the caregiver has a change or where circumstances have resulted in caregivers having no income support to support their children. This will also be prioritized. It's very important to emphasize that in instances where the caregiver ugogo uyakwazi ukuza eSassa achaza athi ingane zihlala nami noma ngabe imali iphethwe yintombi la ikhona khona, ngoba kaningi sithola ukuthi abogogo basala nezingane laba abancane bese bahamba namakhadi, uthola ukuthi ugogo sekasele ekhaya akasazi ukuthi ingane uzazifida kanjani. Ra kopa tle gore mo borakgadi le bogogo ba setse le banna u fumane gore karata e tsamaile le bomme ganti ngwana o shebela ke gogo gore gogo o na le right ya gore a tle ko Sassa a tlo bolela a tsho gore ngwana o setse le nna o fepwa ke nna but karata ha rena yona. Ra tseba ge gore re change gore muthi a tlo tshwarang karata ke mang, particularly for bana ka gore tšhelete ye a se ya rona as bomme ka ntla gwa gona yanong ya gore 500 rand e tla fumana ke yona tšhelete ye ke ya gore re kgone o fepa bana. So mo o fepang bana ke ena go tshwantsa sa le tšhelete. I wish to appeal to caregivers not to bring children when they are coming to the offices so that we don't have an impact on the children. We do understand that generally the feeling is that we need to bring them along so that we have proof, but because we're not even taking the biometrics of the children currently, please leave the children home, but make sure that you bring all the documents so that we know what it is that we're dealing with. I believe Home Affairs is now going to be able to provide support in terms of birth certificates, which therefore means that we can be able to provide support to the mothers that have recently had babies. With regards to the implementation of the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant, it will be recalled that in our last media briefing with the minister, she outlined the criteria and payment methods that would be used to roll out the special COVID Social Relief of Distress Grant, as announced by the President, Cyril Ramaphosa. We have gone back to relook at our systems and have strengthened the modus operandi, and we believe we're ready to open up the processes today. Over time, we'll be able to extend support to those people, abasemakaya, that will not have access to technology. It's very important to note, though, for us to make sure that the service is given efficiently and effectively, we're going to have to use technology even in areas that are far-flung, and we'll have people that we're going to get with the support of NDA, young people that will go to those areas and provide support, and they will continue to engage the NGOs and the NPOs on the ground in partnership with our regions, because it's very important for us not to think that everything happens at head office, because at the end of the day, the services are provided on the ground. So whoever wants to partner with us in this process needs to work together with the provinces, particularly at district level, because that's where our people are going to be impacted on. We will indeed, as the minister said in the earlier pronouncement remain vigilant towards those people that will be trying to defraud the system, as we continue to have a situation where even our current grant beneficiaries continue to be defrauded. For example, in instances where cards are taken from our beneficiaries because they need to loan money. We must indicate that much as we understand that there's instances where people have a need, it's very important for us to take responsibility for the cards that government gives us where the money gets deposited, because it is supposed to support our families and not necessarily to be given to loan sharks that take the money, and the people that are supposed to get the money end up without money. So please, siyacela ukuthi mangabe unekhadi lase Sassa la imali yakho ingena khona, kungabi nezikhathi lasithatha lamakhadi bese siwanikeza abantu lapha siboleka kubo izimali. Siyazi ukuthi kunezikhathi la abantu kube khona ukuthi banezidingo, kodwa mangabe uthatha ikhadi lakho ulinikeza omunye umuntu, kusho ukuthi loyo muntu othatha le khadi lakho ucreate ifraud, and abomthetho bazoqhubeka bababophe. Let me come back again to the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress 350 a grant that we're going to be doing for the next 6 months. It's very critical for us to understand what the criteria is going to be. There are some inputs that we got after the initial announcement by the minister, particularly with regards to the requirement for a proof of residence. We have since changed this in the directives that the minister has just announced, whereby we will need the people's address even if there's no proof of address, because in many instances your address is linked to your ID in any case, which is one of the documents that we will use to vet whether the person is confirmed or exists or doesn't exist. So the key people that will be able to apply will be those that are above 18. Because in instances where people are less than 18, if they are people that are destitute, it means the child would still be receiving a child support grant in any case. It has to be people that are unemployed, those that are not receiving any income and not receiving any grant. And when we say any grant, we don't only mean a social grant which may be received from Sassa. If you are receiving a grant from UIF because of the dispensation that has been provided, it therefore means that you will not qualify. And those people that are currently students that are receiving NSFAS funding, because that has also not been stopped, we have an ability to be able to check through all those databases to make sure that people are not receiving these grants. And in instances where people are employed, we are going to be able to take all the database that we have and run it through a SARS that will check as to whether those people actually are people that are unemployed, because we know that in many instances people do take chances. The person has to give us, if it's people that are currently living in institutions that are supported by DSD, it therefore means that those people will also not qualify, including those people that are in other institutions of government, like in prisons. They definitely would not qualify. And I would assume that even if they have technology, they will not be able to apply and qualify for this a grant. So the prospective applicants will need to provide the following compulsory information for us to be able to process their application. And this has to be submitted electronically. The team, the technical team, will indicate later on as to what facilities do we have that already exist and what are the other facilities that we will work on. You have to provide your ID number that has been issued by Home Affairs, name and surname as captured in your ID, the gender and disability. It doesn't mean that this is necessarily a qualification criteria, but it's important for us as government, as we roll out this process, to understand as to how many persons of disability are actually part of this process, even though the assumption is that most of them would in any case qualify for a disability grant. The banking details, bank name and account number, this is so that we can be able to ensure that as soon as this has been approved, we can deposit the money directly into your account. I believe there's a number of institutions that don't charge people for applying or opening bank accounts that are going to be doing a number of campaigns to make sure that they create access for people, and that will be done. The contact details that are critical would be the cell phone number, and we don't necessarily need a proof of residential address, but we need your residential address so that we can get a sense as to how many people are applying within one particular homestead, because that is going to be critical for us to also keep control. The manner in which the qualifying citizens can apply to this for this grant will be as follows. The new WhatsApp line will be 082 0468 553. We're no longer using the old line that we used, which is part of the health line. We now have a Sassa line specifically designed for this particular grant. Because we know that not everybody has a smartphone, for those little phones also one can be able to apply. We have a USSD line, or what we always refer to as an SMS line, which means we'll have to type in *134 *7737#. The email address will continue to exist. This was already in existence currently, which will be srd@sassa.gov.za. So that's the process that we're going to use. But for ease and to ensure that people emakaya understand how the system works, the team is here and will be able to show how the system actually works. And as soon as we're done here, around 12, the system will be open and people can begin to apply. Again, I want to plead with those that don't qualify because they are receiving other kinds of grants. Please don't apply, because all you do is merely clog the system and not enable others that are deserving to be able to apply. We are mindful that we have we had challenges in the past, and whatever challenges we have, we'll make sure that we're ready to resolve any issue that we have, to make sure that we can accelerate a delivery for this grant as quickly as possible. I will revert back to the minister, and the team can then be able to show us how the system works. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think I do want, in conclusion, for this round, I know we're going to go to questions and all that, but I do want to mention, because from here we're going to be dealing with the demonstration, but we're also going to deal with responding to the questions. I want to say and appeal to our people that we are very appreciative of the fact that hunger is a big problem out there, and people want to be assisted like yesterday. But I do want to appeal that we must exercise some bit of patience, because we know that the system is going to be overloaded, but we've done our best to make sure that the system does not get clogged. And so let's navigate this together. Let's work with each other, because this is the first time that we are finding ourselves under such stress and strain worldwide. So it's an appeal to our people. But I can assure you, on our side, we will do the best that we can. We haven't been sleeping, because we've been trying to just make sure that what President Cyril Ramaphosa asked us to do, we make sure that we respond in the quickest and in the most efficient way. I also would like at the same time to thank the National Command Council, as it is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa and all ministers therein, for their continued support and guidance at this point. Our appreciation also goes to our partners, including the PMO units in the Presidency, National Treasury, and the Reserve Bank, the South African Revenue Services, the Unemployed Insurance Fund, BankServe, the Banking Association of South Africa, and GovChat. And thank you very much for stepping up at this time, as well as members of the public for being patient with us throughout this process. But lastly, and not least, I must thank and appreciate our interfaith leaders for continuously lifting us in prayer and indeed lifting our country in prayer during these difficult times. Ke a tseba gore batho ba kgone ya go dikerekeng, mara ke a tseba gore mo baleng teng ba rapela, and I can assure you I also do get SMSs from time to time for those who have my number to say we are with you all, just be strong in this process. A special appreciation to Bishop Malusi Pumlwana of the South African Council of Churches for holding a special service for us yesterday. We appreciate your prayers, and we also know that there are many others who are praying with us. Quite frankly, this journey is not a journey that will be traveled by government alone. I've repeatedly said it, that government must do what government is expected to do. But my view is that we need to work with each other. And also the fact that this COVID virus has come and is pushing us to the boundaries for us to look for new ways of doing things. It's not only pushing government to get to do things in a different and even new way. It's pushing all communities to do so. And all of us must step up and make sure that we hold each other's hands as South Africans in our different persuasions, in our different communities, in all the provinces. We plead with you that let's work with each other so that South Africa comes out of this being even a much better country. While South Africa as a country comes out as a better country in terms of building our economy and all, South Africa must also come out of this. South Africans as individual citizens must also come out here looking good. I don't want to get into the space of other ministers, but I do want you to also pay some attention to what is happening because of the fact that alcohol is not being sold. We must look at the impact thereof, and we must talk to the communities, those people who were having sleepless nights because people who were drinking were over drinking and binging and forgetting that at the end of the day, they also have to take responsibility of themselves, but also have to take responsibility of their families. They have to take responsibility of their communities. Thanks, Program Director. We can take questions.
At this point, before we allow the journalists to ask, can we invite the technical team to come and do a demo so that people can see how the process is going to unfold after 12 o'clock?
Honorable Minister, the CEO of Sassa, and the CEO of NDA, and the colleagues that are here, and the people out there in the country, good morning. My name is Abraham Mahlangu. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the TSD portfolio at the agency Sassa. We are going to demonstrate one solution, one capability. We do have about 4 of them, but in the interest of time, we'll just demonstrate WhatsApp capability to be able to upload your applications. We do have the website as well, which is live. When you go into the Sassa website, you can actually input and apply for your social grant, and you can also use our email, as the CEO has mentioned, srt@sassa.gov.za. If you go on to the type on the number 082 046 8553, you must save it on your mobile number.
Just be a bit slow with the number.
Okay. 082 046 8553. That is our WhatsApp line. When you save it on your mobile, then it will give you access to menu where you can start navigating your application. In this case, I'm on the menu now, on the number. So it's not a live one, because if I were to apply live, then it means I don't qualify outright. So I'm going to use a demo, but when you dial that number, you will actually be on a live environment. I'm going to type Sassa. It will be prompted as to what you're all about, and it will ask you, what is it that, welcome to Sassa GovChat platform. Then you type SRD. There you go. And then it will say, are you applying for yourself or are you applying for someone? You insert 1 if you're applying for yourself. If you're applying for somebody else, you also indicate 2. And then these are the terms that you should declare that you are in agreement or you qualify for all of the above, or you have read them, you understand what is the exclusion there or the inclusion that's there. And you type yes. And then it's going to ask you your surname, your first name, Maserumule, and it will prompt you to say thank you, then your surname, Malapani, and it will say, please read through the terms and conditions. Some of the critical things that we have indicated there is that we want to verify the information you have given us against all the data sets that the government can expose us to. So you give us a consent that we can do so. And then it will indicate what is your home address. As the CEO has indicated, initially we would have wanted to have a proof of address, but we just say, what is your home address? So I stay in the village Gamchaji. If you are on a smartphone, it can ask you to upload your geolocation, so then you can press the upload, and then it will indicate where you actually are physically. In this case, I'm a South African citizen indeed, and I stay in Ramchachi. There we go. And then this is very important. Before you proceed, you are getting into a secure site now, where your personal information is going to be captured, to make sure that it's not accessible by anyone that can just access WhatsApp. So you get a unique reference number, then you get a one-time PIN code. So you should actually remember it. I hope I'll remember it, 82038. And then you click the link. This link is the one that takes you into an encrypted site where no one else can actually be able to get in there and see your details. 82038 is my PIN. I hope you will remind me if I forget it. Click on the link. The link now is taking me into the secure site. Then it's going to ask me for the pin code is 82038. Verify, and then I think I've got my PIN number wrong. I hope it's not. It was 82038. 038. Sometimes technology can be strict, and it must be what it should be. Still red. Okay. Let me just go back. 83038. Okay, the qualification, it's just querying my criteria. The administrator, if you apologize for that. Eight three 038. Okay, let me just put my ID number. ID number. ID number. Okay. Then ID number. It's a demo 1 0 0 0 0 0 12 15 7 7 8 0 8 3. Continue. Right, then it takes you to the next site. Now in this site, it is where it is confirming all the details that are uploaded earlier on. I said what my name was, surname was Masrumule, and my name was Masrumule, surname Papani, and it confirms also that I'm a South African citizen, and it also confirms that I'm a male, and then I have no disability, and then it also indicates the contact number that I actually confirmed. And so all this prompting, if you have got a second address, or you now have to move to your address if you need to confirm once again. And this is the people that are staying in suburbs where you've got the first line, which will be the street number, and then or the house number. Then you'll have to go to the suburb, and it's all included based on your address particulars that you have. Yeah, let me just put on the additional address that sorry about that. I'll take this. This address that right, and once we have put on your address, I have read and understood and accept the terms and condition. Then you've come to the end of your online application. It will say, thank you for completing your COVID-19 social relief of distress application. Sassa then will revert to you and inform you whether you've qualified or not. And this is in short how the WhatsApp line will work. But the USSD which works on an SMS. It will work on the same basis. It will prompt you, and then you put your details, and then at the end it will say Sassa will revert to you as well. And then the website, you go to our website, and then you type Sassa, and then it will prompt you to insert your details. And then on the email as well, and then you type the srt@sassa.gov.za. And this is what we have tried to do to make sure that we increase the reach for the people to apply. I want to mention that don't apply on all of them. Apply on one and wait for your response from that media. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much. I think the minister and the team will then take questions. Can we start with the telephone line?
We have one person, Hawkalo from UFM. Hawkalo, you can go through.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You? Can you give us one so that we can allow others?
How much challenges are you expecting when it comes to applications for the special basic income grant? I would imagine people sending applications to email addresses that don't belong to them, and others applying on WhatsApp using cell phone numbers that have nothing to do with that. How are you going to verify the identity of such applicants and of course the legitimacy of their claims? And lastly, the minister refers to the chaos caused by the uncoordinated distribution of food parcels by NGOs and other donors, and that is true. The question is, who must the donors approach for coordination, considering there's so much complaints against councillors and other local politicians who are accused of distributing food parcels along party lines?
Thank you. Thank you. Can we take a question from WhatsApp?
Thanks, DG. The first question that we have on WhatsApp is from Vikas Berger from Network24. The question is, what are the department's plans to reopen early childhood centers? Is there a draft or framework, and what are the details thereof? When do they expect these centers and also preschools to reopen? Is the department in contact with the centers? And the second question is coming from Femida from ITV News. The question is, please note there are many people at robots begging, and some are sitting with children on the sides of the roads coming to cars begging. What will be done with this situation? And the following question is from Alex Michelet from News24. He said the initial plan to put the homeless into shelters for the lockdown was obviously unsuccessful, as many people were either not picked up or refused to go to shelters. Many of those who were placed in shelters also ran away. Could you please comment on this? And also, as we enter level 4, what plans are in place for the safety of the homeless?
Thank you. Minister, you will deploy.
I think the CEO will deal with the issue of the challenges, because I think she started already expressing the experience of the first time that they had to test the line. She will answer that. With regard to uncoordinated food distribution, who must the donors approach? Donors have always known all the time who to approach. We have worked with the donors in the past, but I do appreciate that many of the donors are new in the system. Hence, we are saying we will pass the directive so that those that are new in the system, who have been propelled by the challenges of COVID and have the means to support our people, I wish that they will follow up on the directives. But of course, the department itself, Peter Netipale is here, and I don't know who else is here. They will tell you that we've been working with the NGOs for a very long time. And there are those big four, if I may, that are usually known that they always step up wherever there is a problem. Those ones, they've always known who they have to contact in terms of distribution of food, but it has never been as massive as it is now. Hence, it has caused the problem. Straightforward, I want to say that we are going to issue those directives, and those directives must give guidance. The president himself has said it, that we do not want the food parcels issued to become a political football. And everybody in government has been indicating that this must not be a political football. But at the same time, having said that, we must also remember that we work at 3 levels: your national, provincial, and local. And therefore, your local structures have always been appreciated as structures that are closer to the people. And therefore, your councillors are people who are closer to the people, who actually know where the communities are. But what we would like to say and repeat again as the Department of Social Development is that no councillors must be found to be the ones who are distributing the food. They must assist us in directing the NPOs and NGOs where exactly the need is in the main. And I think this is very possible, because I also don't want the whole issue of food parcels to be loaded on one side. It's councillors across political parties in different areas who step up. Some of them step up really, genuinely. They step up to say, we know what's happening with our communities, we want to help. What they must avoid, or as councillors also, at all costs, they must avoid being caught up in this who's supplying what to who and so, and be physically involved in the distribution of the food. So I think my answer to that is that don't discard the councillors and behave like councillors are not responsible in their communities. But also to the NGOs, if you yourself, you see that you have councillors who you are coordinating with, and they start directing you wrongly, it also is your responsibility to say to the councillors, no, I'm not going this direction, because when all is said and done, there is coordination. But also we have provincial prof jogs. And at provincial level, that is where the premiers, the MECs, and they've also divided themselves almost according to the way we've done at national level. And our government structures are responsible. Lastly, when it comes to that issue, it's one thing to accuse and it's another to report when you see. You must go and report, or you must send an SMS, or you must just do something that will make the law enforcement to act, and act immediately. Because when we allow a situation where people just say whatever they want, and then we end up with homes of councillors being attacked and being burnt down and all that, we should avoid that as communities. We should avoid that as citizens of the country, because if somebody is wrong, there is law enforcement that needs to take action. As for the people on the robots who are begging, this is an old age problem of South Africa, and I think that it is a problem that government overall across the board must really work together. And again, as I said earlier on, COVID has propelled us into doing things very differently. You can imagine that at the time when all the homeless people were there and there was no threat of COVID, they were there begging and doing everything, and we're leaving them there. But COVID arrived, and it wasn't going to choose whether you're a beggar or you're somebody anywhere. We were moved into quick action as a department. And in our action as a department, we had to work with the provinces and get the provinces to be proactive in terms of the creation of the shelters. And I must thank many of the provinces really stepped up. And to a very large extent, some of the people that were taken who were homeless, who are in the shelters, provinces as the Free State, provinces as in the Northwest, provinces as in KZN, and many other provinces went beyond just taking these people in. They segregated them into the different categories of who needs to be sent to a rehabilitation, drug rehabilitation home, who has to be sent where, and they did that. In fact, I saw that some of the MECs, as they were reporting, that some of these people, they are now doing soft skills, training them. This is going to be a long journey. It cannot be something that we think we're going to be able to resolve so quickly. But we think as a department, even though sometimes we say homeless people, it's the local structures that are responsible for them, and therefore local government is the one that has to. This time around, we are saying as a department, our role must continue to be that of being responsible for each and every citizen in our country. That is the well-being of our citizens. And therefore, what we have learned in this period, we need to step up. We need to coordinate better ourselves at the department with national and provincial and local structures to deal with that. And somebody asked, News 24 initial plan was not successful. We don't work with successful or not successful here right now. We work with experiencing. What are we experiencing? What can we do to improve it? Because as we say, there's new ways that we are going to be able to do the work, and we must just step up. And it's also about us as communities working with each other, because I don't think anybody enjoys seeing a mother sitting at the robot with 2 children and so forth. That is not acceptable. We have to do something as a nation. And when President Cyril Ramaphosa says to us, nobody must go hungry, it includes those women and children who are sitting out on the streets. But also I want to say to them, and I know people will say, you know, hunger drives people out to the street. As a parent and as a mother, they also have to think hard about taking the children and having children at the robot almost the whole day. It is also very painful. And I know that people will say, yeah, you're saying that because it's not you. Our appeal is that what we used to do as communities, holding each other's hands, we must continue to do that even now, so that the picture that we must paint right now, for the time that we are here, we now are left with 4 years. As a department and in government, we are left with 4 years. We must begin to paint a picture that says we'll have less of those people who are out on the street begging. We'll have less of those women who are sitting with their children at the robots. And that is mainly should be done in terms of addressing it. It should be done by provinces and local structures. Okay, there was a question about the ECDs and when we are going to open them. I think I did address that, because when all is said and done, we are also directed by what the Department of Basic Education does, because this is about education. So we will not on our own go out and say, no, as the Department of Social Development and NDA, we are developing our own guidelines or our own regulations. We must be guided by education. And I can tell you that the Minister of Basic Education is also stressed out, because it's not about just the children going back. There's a whole value chain in it that needs to be addressed. And I think if Connie was here, she could also be able to deal, or she's here, yes. Connie can also just quickly deal with that issue. If you don't mind, Connie, please come through.
Thanks, Minister. Thanks, colleagues. I just want to address the issue of early childhood development. As the Minister has indicated, we are not working alone as a sector. We're working with other sectors, including the NAD joints, because when the alert levels are discussed, sectors are permitted to work as and when it is safe to do so. So early childhood and schools are sectors that are currently in discussions in a phased-in manner. That is why at this alert level 4, it's still highly restrictive. Hence, we're not opening early childhood development centers. But it's important to just emphasize what the Minister has said, that we have recognized that they need some form of administrative costs to assist them in the running of the facilities, even if they are closed. Hence, the subsidies are continued to be paid. So we will communicate as and when alert levels are announced, so that it is safe for children to go back to early childhood centers. Thank you.
On the question of how are we going to ensure that the person that applies is the person that says they are, I will also ask the technical team to amplify how we're going to deal with this. But the key thing is to understand that yes, much as some of the numbers have not been recut, for us what becomes critical is to test the applicant against all the government databases to make sure that the person that claims they are actually those people. So you will apply, you will give us your cell phone number, your ID number, and you will give us your address, and we will take that information and run it against all the other databases. So I know that our people always like to take chances, but it therefore means that in instances where you've given your cell phone elsewhere and it's a different cell phone, that's when the system will kick you out. We then have to verify as to whether who you say you actually are that person. Because we know that in many instances people will commit fraud, they will take somebody's ID, but it therefore means that it becomes important for us to vet you against all the other databases to make sure that whoever you claim you are actually that person. And it's just been quite interesting, even just in terms of the small exercise that we've already done with the applications that we have. That's why we've been able to pick up those people that are actually already receiving grants, not only social grants, that are also in the other databases that have already received UIF, but they are also coming through the system. So please, let's help each other through this process so that we can make sure that those that have the real need are the people that actually benefit. So, Rako Patle, how fumana chelte ko hong, oskatla. I
think we'll take one last round and we then conclude. Telephone lines, Lerato?
We don't have anyone.
Thank you. WhatsApp line?
Thanks, DG. We have a meter again from ITV News. We said how much has government spent in each province on shelter and food for the homeless since lockdown began? And with regards to food parcels being distributed, how much has been spent so far, and can we get a list of the areas where food parcels were given, and going forward, the areas where this will be handed out? And the following question is from Anton Mayer from Pretoria FM. There's a concern from several NGOs that they are not allowed to distribute aid to the needy. Can you once and for all clarify whether NGOs are allowed to distribute food and other aid? Are they required to distribute the food through government channels, or can they distribute independent of government? And we have Genevieve Quintal from Business Day. The minister said more than 80,000 applied for the new temporary relief grant, and of those 57,763 were eligible. Can the minister tell us what were the main reasons for almost half not being eligible? Has government estimated how many people are going to apply or need this temporary relief grant, and how much money has government set aside for the temporary relief grant?
Thank you. I think we've allowed you to give all, but because it's a last round, Minister, would you like to, or?
She can answer the one
Thoughts?
when they apply.
Yeah. Thank you.
The people that were actually disqualified from the process were disqualified because they are already receiving grants. So that's the reason why, that's the first hurdle that you need to jump through. If you're receiving a grant, whether it's a social grant or it's UIF, it means you would not actually qualify. So those that we had to take out of the system was as a result of that. So it's key to understand we have to work through all the the different trenches before we can actually enable and allow you to go through. So that's what becomes critical. If you sitting on another database, you can't go through, we disqualify you then. On the number of people that actually applied, there were 91,000 people that applied on the WhatsApp line that we started with the help of the Bill Gates Foundation that we piloted on. Of those 91,000 people, 11,000 people are already on social grants. So it was before we even look at other databases, they already were on social grants. That's the reason why we took them off. Of the ones that applied on email, there were 250,000 that applied, and 50% of them already are receiving social grants, and now we'll run them through all the other databases. So, and this is the exciting opportunity that despite the challenges that COVID-19 has actually given us, we've had to work smarter and also make sure that we work through all the structures of government for us to make sure that we do the right thing. With Home Affairs, we've always been linked to Home Affairs. That's why even if you apply for a social grant, we need to vet you against the Home Affairs system to make sure that your ID links in with harness, that is what actually exists in harness. That's what is going to make it easier for us. And in future, going forward, this process is actually going to help us even look at some of the people that are even receiving social grants now that should not be receiving social grants, because now we're beginning more and more as government to talk to each other and to vet our people better. In some instances, we may have to look at more information. For example, we found instances where people are on our social grant database and they are in UIF. So we need to then look at what is it? What grant are you actually receiving that you are in UIF, but you're receiving a grant? Yes, we understand that you could be receiving a child support grant. We don't know what the level of the salary of those people are. So this is really a huge opportunity for government for us to make sure that resources go to where they should be going. So it's interesting learning. Thank you.
I think we have to answer the question about if you don't have a bank account, what's going, because I know that we had long discussions about banked and unbanked.
If you don't have a bank account, of course, there's two other processes that we're going to use in terms of ensuring that people can access. The one opportunity that people actually have is to go to Postbank, to go to the post office, because once you bank with the post office, you can open a Mzansi account, which is for 10 Rand. Yes, I know that the argument will be, where do I get 10 Rand from? But you can open a Mzansi account. Having opened a Mzansi account, when you have a post office account, they never close the account even if your account is on zero. Yet when you have an ordinary bank account, if there's no money that comes into your bank account, after 3 months, the account then becomes if the account is inactive, it gets closed. So the banking solution is one solution, and there's a whole range of other banks that exist now where you can go to Pick and Pay and open a bank account, and a whole range of other places you can go to PEP and open a bank account, which are more what they call your zero facility bank account. The other way that we're going to pay, the second process that we're going to use, is to pay through what is cash send or e-wallet. As we all know, all the banks have got different solutions that that can be used to send money. And we've contracted with the major banks so that you find that in instances where you live closer to a facility which has got an ABSA ATM, you will then select and say, please send my money through cash send. And you can then go to the ATM and be able to retrieve your money. And if you know that close to where you are, there's an F&B, you can then say send it by e-wallet. The idea is to give our people choice, because in many instances we tell you this is what you will eat, but we're saying this time people will be given choice so that they can decide for themselves as to what is it that's going to be convenient. Going forward, we're now going to be looking at the voucher system, because much as we do have a voucher system in Sassa, it's not practical for these level of numbers that we're actually looking at. So we've received a number of opportunities from people that gave us unsolicited requests to be able to look at what works. What becomes key is that we need to start with something. We may not have all the answers now as to what voucher system are we going to use, but we need to start somewhere. We were already in a journey as an institution to look at what can we do differently for us to make sure that we're a better technologically enabled institution to provide that support. So the actual voucher system is also another system that we need or are going to have to look at, but we need to make sure that it's interoperable. The other key thing that we need to look at is that we need to make sure that people actually continue to buy closer to where they are. So where there's options that enable people to buy from their spaza shops or to buy in shops that are closer to them, those are the first option solutions that we will look at. And for us, the solutions that we're going to implement now are not only for COVID, but they are going to have to see us into the future so that we can continue to do things differently and not find instances where our grandmothers, after receiving their old age grant, actually have to travel far for them to do shopping. And those are some of the issues that we need to look at. Also, in terms of what is our responsibility as families, because yes, the state, as the minister said, needs to take responsibility where it can, but us as families also, we should take responsibility and not let ugogo ahambe aye edolobheni ana 91 ayedwa. Ngiyathemba ukuthi sikhona ezimindeni ukuthi nathi sikhona ukuthi sisupporta abazali bethu nogogo bethu singabayeki ukuthi bahambe bodwa singabasupportanga ngoba kaningi uthola ukuthi bayagula banoshukela bavuka ekseni. So siyacela Nkosi yami ukuthi asisizaneni asibambisaneni nathi sizozama ukuthi kwi-next pay cycle senze show ukuthi bakhona laba abancedisayo benze show ukuthi abogogo bancediswa masinyane bakwazi ukuhamba. Sisebenzisana kakhulu futhi nama-retailers namabhangi ukuthi senze show ukuthi abogogo kuba yibo abaprioritizwayo kuqala. Siyaxolisa kakhulu futhi kule nyanga edlulile ukuthi kukhona abogogo abathe bahamba bayofuna imali yabo bayithola ingekho. Siyaxolisa kakhulu. Kuye kwaba ukuthi beziziningi lezinto esizishintsha sithi senza ukuthi kube easy kwatholakala ukuthi iphutha liyenzeka. Siyaxolisa, angeke kuphinde kwenzeke kodwa sizawubambisana. Siyabonga.
I do want to take from where the CEO left, that we have to look for all systems that are going to be making it easy for our people so that they don't have to be traveling these long distances. That's why as a Department of Social Development, we also believe we are part and parcel of the discussions around issues of infrastructure development and bringing activities closer to the people, where people, when they use their money, they don't have to be traveling that far. And therefore, also the issue of ensuring that working with the Department of Small Business Development, as they also help in the improvement of your spaza shops and supporting spaza shops, as well as general dealers in some of the far-flung areas. General dealers are always there, and we need to make sure that we support them to survive. That will reduce the number of people that have to go to towns. One of the things that I think is important for us is to say that most of the people travel because they want to go to the big shops where they are buying your Woolies, your Edgars, and all those. And now you can also see that economically they are also going through a very difficult moment. And this is the time for us to really rise in support of your local production. We are the masks that they have there, those are already locally produced masks, and NDA is supporting those cooperatives that are already active. We support them for them to continue being the one that produces the mask at a local level, so the jobs are there at a local level. And the cost of the mask obviously is going to be, although I mustn't say that because I know that buying the fabric and making the mask is not as easy as I can say it here, but we need to try and be supportive to local production, because without local production, we are not going to be able to rebuild our economy. The lessons that have been learned now give us a sense that it is possible for us, because quite frankly, a lot of countries are going to be very inward looking right now. They are going to be protecting themselves, and the world is going to be doing things differently. Ourselves too, we must wake up to that reality of local production, but also we must wake up to the reality of our neighbors as SADC. You know, there's going to be a lot of demand in production and all that. I'm personally excited about this period, even though we're going through a difficult time. I'm excited because it's saying to us as government, just think differently, do things differently, empower people on the ground so that they can be able to power themselves. I sent the message yesterday to the CEO and said, #empower people to power themselves. And I think that's the slogan we need to use, and explain to people that what they think is not possible for them in their local structures is possible. There was a question about whether NGOs are allowed to distribute food, and whether they only have to distribute that food only through government. NGOs are allowed to distribute food. Again, I'm saying NGOs have always done this. It's just that the challenge of COVID is such that the numbers have just exploded in front of us. And again, I've been saying, even when NGOs are distributing the food, it is important for all of us to realize that there's no manna from heaven. That's just the bottom line. What we get, how we use it to empower communities and be able to sustain. That's why I keep insisting, whatever we do must be developmental, must be sustainable. If you don't sustain it, you're going to have a problem, because we don't know how long this COVID-19 is going to be with us. So even the food that is out there, it's important for us to begin to look at different systems that are sustainable, but it's also important for us to look at what can be developmental within that. But it's also important to look at the transformation of our economy, because here's the story. You ask yourself, that value chain now that is there of the food, where is the food coming from? Who is buying from who? Where is our transformation agenda even within that? Because when all is said and done, the picture that we want to paint is not a picture of people who will always go and bakhongezele balindele ama-food parcels. It's important for us to use this opportunity to make sure that our people are also supported. So NGOs are allowed to distribute the food. All we were asking for was, as you distribute the food, be sensitive and not end up with food going to one and the same places. Be sensitive that there are far-flung areas where people are looking and saying, in all the provinces, in the Northern Cape especially, because remember that the Northern Cape is one of those provinces that really suffer as far as poverty, unemployment, and inequality is concerned. So we are just asking the NGOs to be sensitive to that, and we are asking that the NGOs please work with us. Please work with organized organizations and churches and all in the distribution of food, but also make it your responsibility that when the food is being distributed, preferably if food can be dropped at homes, it would be better, it will give better dignity to our people, but also it will help us in ensuring that not too many people come out, so that we then are forced to deal with the issues of social distancing, we deal with the issues of ensuring that people have got the masks and all that. There was a question that is related to what we have spent on in collaboration with solidarity funds. That one, I know it as even when I wake up anytime you ask me, I will know it. Peter will tell you. Because we had long arguments and sitting down and having a conversation. They gave us 23 million. We pulled 20 million from ourselves, from the SRD, and we combined that money together. And therefore, the disaster fund, and we distributed 58,750 food parcels in all the provinces. With regard to provincial food parcels distribution, which stand at 323,529 as part of the 7 May 2020, the cost will be reported later, because here's the issue. We want provinces to be the ones that take responsibility of this. I can't sit here at national, and the CEOs and everybody sit here at national and be thinking that we'll know where the food is being distributed without the involvement of the provinces. And we get the reports that we are expecting from the provinces. But what we know so far is that there are 350,000 food parcels that were distributed by other departments and solidarity funds through NPOs in all 9 provinces. Here's what I also want to say. The Solidarity Fund picked on our system of community-based CNDCs, as we call them. They picked on our system because it is a tried and tested system, and therefore they wanted to partner with us, but that money was a little money. And they also had, on the other hand, Solidarity Fund, through their own NPOs and their own connection, they have been distributing food parcels. To that effect, we've been saying to them, don't distribute food without talking to the communities and without you letting us know, because what will happen is that on the ground, those that are distributing without following all the protocols of COVID, they will be arrested. Some were arrested already in Limpopo, and they said, no, we come from the Department of Social Development. We checked in our system. They were not in our system, only to find that there's an NPO that was doing that supported by the Solidarity Fund. And I'm 100% sure that the Solidarity Fund itself will want people to be accountable with the money that has been given to them. So we really are going to tighten the screws as much as we possibly can, because firstly, as a department, we don't want to be part and parcel of people who've been found within our value chain to have been corrupt this way or the other. We don't want that. So accountability is also very important for us. The total food parcels distributed is 525,029, including what was delivered by NPOs. I think I've already dealt with that, and I've already dealt with the fact that NPOs are allowed. Look, CEO, both CEOs and everyone who's here, we're looking for new ways of doing this. We've already indicated we want to give dignity to our people. We're looking for much more creative ways of doing it. And I know that there's quite a number of people who are in the outside who are supporting us, who've already sent a few suggestions to us to say this would be the best way of distribution of food parcels. But also, you can move away from the distribution of parcels, as the CEO said. Give the people the money for them to make the decision what to do with the money. However, we are not going to have a bon king when is wrong. If you get the money, you've got to make sure that the nutrition of your children and the nutrition of your family is of utmost importance to you. You've got to know that the well-being of our community has to be done properly. And so we will continuously look at different ways. And I know that Minister of Basic Education also has been talking to us, because remember that they also deal with the school feeding scheme and all that. Ourselves, with the Minister of Basic Education, we're going to have very vigorous engagements as to what must we improve, what we change. And my view is that we need drastic change right now. If we miss this boat, then we must forget about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister and the two CEOs. We've come to the end of this media briefing, but I think journalists, you will always be entertained afterwards by the three leadership through their MLOs. I think the media liaison officers will be offhand, but thank you very much, Minister, and the two CEOs. The media briefing is adjourned.
Thank you.